Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs.
Bows and TKOs. We are live, episode 154, coming at you from the Valley. I'm your host, Shane Gillette, for this weekly MMA podcast, streaming anywhere you listen to podcasts with the videos on YouTube. And one hell of a show do we have today. We have the massive UFC 329 return of the Mac, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway. Probably got to be favorite for a card of the year just because top to bottom, this thing is absolutely stacked. We also have a good amount of fights that have been announced. Ultimate Fighter recap and previewing this weekend's RAF event. So, yeah, let's just jump right in. We have Veronica Hardy out of her fight against Deanna Melisano. So Deanna's going to fight Diana Barbosa July 18th. We have Marc-Andre Barriault needing a new opponent for July 18th. Not looking promising as it's the 8th today because Brad Tavares is out. Short notice for a prelim fight this weekend. John Garza stepping in against Farid Basharat. Quite the high-level competition in her UFC debut. We have Mateusz Renbecki taking on Kyle Prepelic August 1st. Santiago Ponzinibbio taking on Sam Patterson July 25th. That's interesting. July 8th, we have Mateusz Gamrot and Quillian Salkild as the main event for a fight in the Apex. So Quillian called his shot. He got what he wanted. Let's see if he can handle the high-level grappling. We have Sergey Spivak taking on Vitor Petrino August 22nd. Renier de Ridder taking on Roman Dolidze. Somewhat of an intriguing matchup, but it's both of them making their light heavyweight debuts. It looks like they're going to be namestays at light heavyweight. A lot of middleweights are moving up to light heavyweight. That's August 22nd. That'll be the main event, I think. We have Shamil Gaziev taking on Kennedy and Shekwaku, and Markel Medeiros taking on Mason Jones, also on August 22nd. That should be fun. August 29th in Shanghai, we get the Alex Perez-Sumideri rematch. I believe it was a kick to the nuts, to the cup of Perez, why the first fight didn't finish, so that should be fun. We get Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Song Yadong. I guess best available. I felt like Umar should be next in line for the title out of Pewter and Merab. And it seems like he's just fighting the leftovers of Sean O'Malley. So I guess they're probably going to put Sean O'Malley higher in that hierarchy. Would love to see them square off one day. We have Ray Suria taking on Kevin Borjas. Yan Xiaonan taking on Denise Gomez. Somewhat of an intriguing matchup. Surprised they booked it, but I guess Jan has been inactive for a while, needed somebody to dance with. And then we get a fun bantamweight fight, Marlon Vera, Charles Jourdain at UFC 331. I believe that's early September. But on Tuesday, we had the Ultimate Fighter. We had Daniel Cormier's Tina Black squaring off with Bisping's Natalia Alves. Some of the top strawweights showing off. There was a brutal weight cut by Natalia. After taking every minute of time, she stepped on the scale and was still about a half pound over with minutes to spare. Bisping's like, we'll cut her hair. She didn't agree, but DC says, don't have her do that. That might not be half a pound. Let's just shave your head. If you shave your head, I'll make it official. They did it. And it looked like Bisping with the buzz cut from his fighting days. But in the fight, I mean, Tina pieced up Natalia from distance, popping in and out, controlling the space, controlling the fight, landing bigger damaging shots. And as the fight wore on into the second round, Natalia was just kind of standing in front of her, and she was eating them. She didn't fight forward, didn't give herself much of a fighting chance. And in round two, Tina was landing big shots, really had her beat up. I would say she threw about 50 shots with no counter strikes, no attempt of Natalya coming forward before she finally huddled down and got the finish. So absolute domination as Tina Black moves to the semifinals, and she's been known to kind of rile up the house. She's not a fan favorite for the other fighters, but she did put on a show. And the highlight was that she trains at a Uriah Faber's camp in Sacramento. Uriah texted Bisping and DC to see who got her on their team. Bisping said that Natalya was on her, or Tina was on his team. What is her weaknesses? What does she need to work on? Try to get some inside information. All that did was piss DC off and obviously did not help in the fight. But this Saturday, early morning before UFC, we have RAF Georgia, the first international card at 9 a.m. Pacific. The headliner, of course, Merab Dvalishvili making his RAF debut. Is it his debut? I don't think it is, actually. Against Henry Cejudo. So two former champions, bantamweight champions, squaring off. Henry Cejudo obviously being an Olympian. Merab just being Merab. I am very intrigued in that. That's actually probably a quality, equal level playing field because some of these are lopsided. We get Kyle Snyder taking on Abdul Rashid Saduliev, who defeated David Taylor, Olympic medalist as well, so that should be good. We have Abdul Sharid also defeated Michelle Masayev, who's in PFL now, but solid wrestler, and has some history with Kyle Snyder. He lost to him in 2023, but beat him 2 times in 2021. So there is some history in this big wrestling match. We have Arman Sarukian still going at it, taking on Kamidov. We have Kyle Dake taking on Vladimir Gabkurlidze. And Ernar Akhmatiliev taking on Zane Rutherford, former Penn State champion. I mean, I'm probably taking the favorites, Kyle Snyder, Merab, Arman, and Kyle Dake, and Zane Rutherford. But some fun action, and they will stay consistent over the summer with about an event a month. But enough about that. This is all about UFC 329 International Fight Week. I guess I didn't put down the starting times. I'm assuming it's the classic times. Let's see. And for all those worried about Conor McGregor not showing up, he was on today's episode of Embedded. I am just concerned about getting to weigh-ins personally. But this starts at early prelims, 2 p.m. Pacific. We have 5 fights on Paramount Plus and Fight Pass. The prelims are at 4 p.m. 4 fights on Paramount. And the main card at 6 p.m. on Paramount Plus. I do believe there's some CBS action. And I think maybe even the weigh-ins. The broadcast network is airing 1-hour primetime special on Friday featuring the weigh-ins. So I don't think any fights, just the weigh-in. Hopefully they do put some in the window because that'd be cool. But they're probably trying to push Paramount Plus subscribers. Regardless, I mean, previewing this card is simple. It's all about the hype, the McGregor return. That itself is clearly doing well, as any 100 level seat, the worst one you could get is starting at $1,600 or more, and still well over $1,000 just to get into the arena. There has been some last second matchmaking on the early prelims, but this is loaded with big names, violent fighters, ranked matchups. The prelims are fun. Robert going to light heavyweight, Gable Stevenson's debut, and the main card is absolutely stacked. I am guaranteeing that it will deliver. So I am previewing this a 9 out of 10. Again, it's hard to do a 10 out of 10 after UFC 299, 300, 301. Plus, we don't know what to expect with Conor McGregor. It might be a little bit of a letdown. But there's one fight we will not break down. It's a short notice fight. We have 15th ranked Fareed Basharat fighting John Garza, who is a Fury FC alum making his UFC debut. But let's kick this off in the early prelims. We have Alessandro Nono Costa 30 years old with a 16-5 record, taking on Cody, custom-made Durden. 35 years old with an 18-10 record. Now, this is one of the short notice fights. Cody was actually booked to fight Ode Osborne. I think this ended up being official about 2 weeks ago. But now, in my opinion, he's getting a tougher opponent. Better competition. And this is a big deal because Cody really needs to string together some wins. He's been very active, but has lost more than he's won. And Alessandro has been very active as well. This is his third fight this year. He's just now hitting his prime at 30 years old. He's a very solid, well-rounded competitor. I mean, both men are well-rounded, but Alessandro has that finishing power at flyweight, and Cody typically is a decision fighter. Breaking it down, Alessandro trains at a Legacy MMA. He is a Dana White Contender Series alum. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, 3-1 since 2024. So he's been active, he's been winning. 7 of his 16 wins are via knockout, 6 via submission. So 13 of his 16 wins via finish. Very impressive in flyweight. But 3 of his 5 losses are also via finish. Early in his pro career, he was a little bit overzealous and got caught in situations. Now, Cody has a southpaw stance. He trains out of American Top Team. He has a brown belt in BJJ. He's on a 1-fight winning streak, but is only 2-5 since 2024. Although 7 fights in the 2 years, very impressive. 6 of his 18 wins are via knockout, 12 via submission, and 5 of his 10 losses are also, 6 via submission, so 12 of his 18 wins via finish, impressive as well. A lot of his knockouts not in the UFC though, and then 5 of his 10 losses are via submission. Now, both fighters are offensive. Obviously, at the flyweight division, they bring a ton of volume. I think it'll be a fun matchup. They have both fought twice already this year, so they should be in shape, be prepared. I do think if the fight stays standing, that Costa will have the advantage. So Cody is going to have to try to take Alessandro down, try to hold him down, wear on him throughout the fight, tire him out, maybe still around with some grappling. But that's easier said than done with Alessandro. You know, Cody has had success when he does fight forward, does attempt takedowns, like he did in his last fight against Rafael Filho. It looked like kind of a resurgence fight. But this is a tougher test. Costa is going to force collisions in the center of the octagon. He's not going to back down, which again is why I think this will be a fun fight. But I'm taking Alessandro Costa. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Big cards like this, I very rarely make a lot of money. Usually it's picking a finish round or a small parlay. Because if you try to parlay like 4 to 5 fights, there's always some sort of upset or chaos that happens. I mean, look at the White House card with Ilia Topuria. But moving on, we have Ryan Problema Gandra, 31 years old with a 9-1 record, taking on Zachary Savage Reese, 32 years old with a 10-3-1 record. Now, Ryan is in the middle of his prime, as well as Zachary at 31 and 32. But there's obviously a lot of unknown with Ryan. He's had quick finishes in the UFC so far, and he hasn't fought to a decision since 2023, and only has fought to decisions twice in his pro career, mostly because he's starched his opponents. You know, Zach doesn't win as violently, but he is well-rounded. He trains with a good gym, and he just has more experience against upper-level competition. Zach fought Michelle Pajeda well in February, but Michelle did land the bigger, more damaging shots. So Zach is definitely going to have to find a way to change it up, strike well from distance, and take Ryan down. But breaking this one down, Ryan is an LFA and Contender Series alum. He's on an 8-fight winning streak, 2-0 in the UFC. 5 of his 9 wins are via knockout. His 1 loss also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. Now, Zachary is a Fury FC and Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak, but is 4-2-1 since 2024. He's also been active. 5 of his 10 wins are via knockout. 2 of his 3 losses are also via knockout. Probably means this will end in a knockout, but Zachary fights to knock out or be knocked out. And he does have some length. He has a 2.5-inch reach advantage and a 5.5-inch leg reach advantage. So yeah, I mean, Zachary's going to have to make Ryan pay for trying to close distance in this fight, leverage those kicks, especially with that length, leverage his jab to try to keep him at bay, and make him pay when he closes in. You know, Ryan is definitely a powerhouse. He's going to bring the fight to Reese. So how is he going to try to counter that and put Ryan in bad spots? That's the question. So for the sake of picking, I am taking Ryan Gandra. I don't know enough about him, so for that reason, I'm avoiding this on any parlays possible. Moving on, we have Damian the Baby Yaga Pinas, 24 years old with a 9-1 record, taking on Cesar Almeida, 38 years old with a 7-2 record. Let me pull up the odds real quick. So I believe I'm taking some dogs in the fight. All right, so in this fight, we get another young brute. Pinas is only 24 years old, still very clean, but clearly is an explosive and powerful fighter. He's taken on a kickboxing vet who's come to the UFC a little bit later in his pro career, but is trying to get his footing. Cesar lost his last fight because Cesar Oleg Shayshuk took him down and easily controlled him for most of the fight. When he has fought strikers, he has fared very well, and he does have a few knockouts. So fighting a fellow striker, this one will be a doozy. That's a big reason I'm breaking it down. But Damian is a Contender Series alum. He's on a 5-fight winning streak, 2-0 in the UFC. 8 of his 9 wins are via knockout, and he has a 5.5-inch reach advantage. Now, Cesar has a kickboxing style. He has an orthodox stance. He was a kickboxing champion in Super Combat, WKN, Waco, and WGP. He actually fought Alex Bejeda to a decision back in 2025 and defeated him, also in 2013 via decision. I think that was supposed to be 2015, not 2025. He's in the UFC. Now he's on a 1-fight losing streak. He's 3-2 since 2024, and 5 of his 7 wins are via knockout. Now, I think this is going to be another violent stand-up fight the fans are going to love. But Cesar is just so experienced in that field. I think he's going to come prepared with a good game plan, try to test Damian in multiple spots. You know, Damian is young and full of confidence. I think he'll find himself getting overzealous and trying to do too much to get a big finish. Big stage, T-Mobile, Conor McGregor card. Lots of things going to be happening in his mind. It is possible that Damian gets a finish, but I think Cesar is just too skilled of a striker. He's going to pick his spots and trying to get Pinas late into the fight, try to see how he does after the first round, and he'll potentially steal a decision as he's been, you know, a decision fighter for a long time. And I am taking the underdog. The dog's coming to eat. Ho, ho. I'm taking Cesar Almeida. He is a plus 205 underdog. But I'm avoiding this on parlays. I'm not that confident. Obviously, Vegas and the pros really think Damian's going to get the finish, but I think Cesar has got enough experience and skill to hang in there. He really struggles against grapplers, obviously, and Pinas, I haven't seen that out of him. If I was Pinas, I would try to test it at least. In the final early prelim fight, we get Wang the Joker Cong. 34 years old with a 9-1 record and the number 12 next to his name, taking on Tracy Cortez. 32 years old with a 12-3 record and the number 8 next to her name. I think this is going to be another very close strategic fight. Wang has actually pretty hyped since she's entered the UFC. You know, she had a good kickboxing run defeating Valentina Shevchenko via decision back in 2015. But she really hasn't impressed me in the UFC. She's struggled against grapplers. And Tracy has solid grappling. She's a well-proven striker as well. And I think she determines where this fight goes, and that's going to pay off when it comes to a decision. Breaking this down, Wang has a kickboxing and Sanda style. She trains out of Team Alpha Male. She won gold in the 2013 Women's Sanda Championships. She has the second fastest knockout and finish in UFC Women's Flyweight history. 1 minute, 2 seconds against Victoria Leonardo. She's a UAE Warriors and Road to UFC alum. She's on a 3-fight winning streak. She is 5-1 since 2024, or 5-1 in the UFC. Tracy is an Invicta and Contender Series alum. She's on a 1-fight losing streak and is only 1-2 since 2024. She has battled some injuries, so she hasn't been very active. And 2 of her 3 losses are via submission. Now, Tracy in the past year or so has moved to Mexico City to train at the new PI over there. You know, she was submitted in her last fight against Erin Blanchfield, but I thought she was battling well before that. She has some quality wins against the likes of Viviane Araujo and Jasmine Jazdavicius. She did start very slow in her fight against Rose Namajunas, but as the fight went on, she started to come on, and Rose is an absolute problem. I think she's going to have to try to start fast because Wang is going to bring the fight and be ready to open up. Tracy is going to not let Wang walk her down and take her out. So I do think where Cong overthrows and gets too excited, Tracy is going to take her down and make her pay. And I think she'll be able to stand and trade well enough to make it competitive on the feet. For that reason, I'm taking Tracy Cortez. This is pretty much a pick'em fight, minus 106, minus 104, 114. But I am going to put her on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. And majority of the women's fights, the best bet here. I will probably parlay that this goes to a decision. Moving on in the prelims. We get Kai the Fightin' Hawaiian Kamaka, the third. 31 years old with an 18-7-1 record, taking on Luke Riley. 27 years old with an undefeated 13-0 record. Now, Luke Riley's been pretty hyped since coming to the UFC from Cage Warriors. You know, he's still young at 27. I think he's still going to develop his game. And Kai's a little bit different. You know, he's come in with a chip on his shoulder. This is his second stint with the UFC. Kai is just now hitting his prime at 31. And after a tough start in the UFC back in 2020, he's ran through some solid Bellator competition. He stayed active and has given himself a chance. You know, Luke barely won his last fight against Michael Aswell Jr. just a little over 3 months ago. So we'll see what he's added to his arsenal and see if he can improve. Breaking this down, Kai has a wrestling style. He trains out of Extreme Couture. He's a King of the Cage, Bellator, PFL, and Tough Enough alum. And of course, he's had 2 UFC stints after 5 years away. Now, Luke trains out of Next Generation MMA Liverpool with Paddy Pimblett. He's a Cage Warriors alum. 9 of his 13 wins are via knockout. And he's undefeated on a 13-fight winning streak, 2-0 in the UFC. A lot of the time, these young green guys, especially when they come off a fight that's super close, I really went back and forth on this one. I mean, Kai hasn't been fighting high-level competition since he last fought Brendan Loughnane in the UFC, or in the PFL, and he lost that via split decision back in 2024. He's been mostly a decision fighter. He definitely relies on taking his opponents down with his wrestling. And I think that Luke will have the speed and precision advantage when they are standing and striking. But I do think Kai can test Luke, try to bring him into deep waters. Obviously, he's going to have to try to withstand the first round. But I think Luke is going to have to take a lot away in his last close. He's going to take a lot away from his last win and put it together. You know, Kai has only been knocked out once in his pro career. That was actually against Jonathan Pierce in his second UFC fight. So, you know, Kai's definitely tough. He's durable. Again, just now in his prime. I do think Kai can find a way to dig deep, win a round with some grappling, and maybe win a close round to win on the scorecards. But for the sake of picking, I think Luke Riley keeps his 0. I'm taking Luke Riley, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays. I don't have enough confidence. I think Kai has a real fighter chance. And the odds on this one, Kai Kamaka's at plus 220, Luke Riley minus 260. Moving on, we have Adrian Yanez, 32 years old with a 17-6-1 record, taking on Cody No Love Garbrandt, 34 years old with a 15-7 record. Now, I've mentioned this with Cody. I mean, I just don't feel like he's looked very good. He quickly knocked out Brian Kelleher in 2023. Brian struggled in the UFC. He's no longer with the promotion. And besides that, it's been since 2020 when he knocked out Rafael Assunção. But really, he hasn't been the guy we thought he was going to be after his domination against Dominic Cruz to win the title, and then his back-to-back wars with TJ Dillashaw. So how he fights Adrian, who's in the middle of his prime at 32, and is kind of in desperate need of a win himself, is going to be interesting. Clearly, both men have really fast hands. They're very powerful strikers. So on the feet, this is going to be a ton of fun. Breaking this down, Adrian has an orthodox stance. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's a Legacy FC, Fury FC, Bellator, LFA, and Contender Series alum. He's on a one-fight winning streak, is only 1-1-1 since 2024. That's why I'm saying he really needs a win here. 11 of his 17 wins are via knockout, and he does have a 4.5-inch reach advantage. Now, Cody trains out of Extreme Couture. He has a D2 wrestling background at a Newberry College. He's a former bantamweight champ. He's tied with Petr Yan for third most knockdowns in bantamweight history with 10. He's tied with Chuck Liddell, Quentin Jackson, Josh Emmett, Montel Jackson, and Ilia Topuria for most consecutive fights with a knockdown landed in UFC history with 7. He's a 2016 Fighter of the Year. Had the 2017 Fight of the Year against TJ Dillashaw. Those were fun, a lot of bad blood. He was the 2023 Comeback Fighter of the Year. He's on a one-fight winning streak and is 1-2 since 2024. 11 of his 15 wins are via knockout. 4 of his 7 losses are also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. Now, Cody was very hesitant to pull the trigger with his striking in his last win against Xiao Long, but did enough because Long was deducted 2 points in that fight. Adrian typically brings the fight and isn't shy to let his strikes fly, so Cody is probably going to look to counter, meet him in the middle, thinking he has more power, which honestly, he's only 34. It seems like he's been around forever, but it is possible that he has the power to get it done. I mean, either man could obviously land a big shot and get the finish. I just have more confidence in Adrian, who has better striking defense, and I think he has a wider array of striking arsenal in his bag. Plus, Cody doesn't seem to be as durable, and his game plans have been really weird. He tried to wrestle Xiao Long. He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't willing to throw strikes, so I don't have any confidence in him. For that reason, I'm taking Adrian Yanez. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on, we get the highly anticipated debut of NCAA champion, Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson, 26 years old with an undefeated 3-0 record. He is taking on Elijah the Snack Panther Ellison, 29 years old with a 5-2 record. Now, there's been rumors for really since Gable said he was going to be an MMA fighter that he would sign with the UFC. And after only 3 pro fights, even though they were first-round finishes, the UFC finally gave in just because of the star power that he has as a heavyweight, and he's obviously John Jones' famed student. Elijah made his UFC debut against Brando Pericic, and he was finished in the first round. This kind of seems like a layup matchmaking situation for Gable, potentially the biggest card of the year, really to help boost his stock and get eyeballs on him. Gable, of course, we know, is a world-class athlete, world-class wrestler. He can rely on that if he needs to, but he's been so explosive and has had quick finishes, I'm sure he's going to be looking for that highlight finish again. Breaking this down, Gable has a wrestling style. He was involved with the WWE for a while and tried out for the Buffalo Bills as an edge rusher. He has an orthodox stance. He has a D1 wrestling background out of the University of Minnesota. He was a 2-time gold medalist, a silver medalist in 25, and a bronze medalist his freshman year. He won gold in the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. He's undefeated on a 3-fight winning streak and, of course, is making his UFC debut, and all 3 of his wins are via knockout. Elijah has a jiu-jitsu style. He's 0-1 in the UFC, and 4 of his 5 wins are via knockout. I really don't see how Gable loses here. I mean, at heavyweight, anyone could get caught. I think Gable's going to look like Josh Hokett versus Derek Lewis. He's going to be too fast and too elusive for Ellison. Of course, if things get a little sketchy, Gable can get takedowns if needed, but he does have to be careful if he brings it down to the mat because Elijah has good BJJ skills. But I think Gable gets a finish in round 1 or round 2 of his debut. He has the athletic ability to be great, not good. He has future champion written all over him. And I think he will rise faster, especially in the shallow heavyweight division, than Bo Nickel did. Moving on in the prelim headliner, we get Bobby Knuckles. We get Robert the Reaper Whittaker, 35 years old with a 27-9 record, taking on Nikita the Miner Krylov, 34 years old with a 31-11 record and the number 12 next to his name. I'm honestly surprised that Robert only got booked against Nikita in his light heavyweight debut. He could have asked for that fight. You know, he's had a couple of tough losses, but this is his opportunity to right the ship and get his confidence back in his new weight class. I personally would have booked him against a top 5 light heavyweight at least, but Robert, he will be the smaller fighter against most of his opponents, height-wise, but he will be wide and powerful for the division, and he is still fighting at such a high level. I think he could take it to Nikita with his striking and get a finish just standing. You know, Nikita, he's only 34, but he seems really old. He seems slow. He's coming off his best win against Modestas Bukauskas, and that was a very ugly slugging showdown. I saw that live in the first Paramount card in January in T-Mobile. Breaking this down, Robert has black belts in Hapkido, Goju Ryu Karate, and BJJ. He wrestled for the Australian national freestyle team. He's an Ultimate Fighter alum and champion. He's a former middleweight champion and interim champ. He was the first Australian to win a UFC championship, the first New Zealand-born UFC champion. He has the second most post-fight bonuses in middleweight history with 9, behind Anderson Silva. He's tied with Anderson Silva, Derek Brunson, and Brendan Allen for third most wins in UFC middleweight history with 14. He's tied with Michael Bisping for third most decision wins in UFC middleweight history with 9. He had the 2018 Comeback of the Year against Yoel Romero 2. Insane fight. He was the 2020 Comeback Fighter of the Year, the 2017 Fighter of the Year, and he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He's 2-2 since 2024. 10 of his 26 wins are via knockout. Now, Nikita has a first-degree black belt in Kyokushin Karate, so they both have karate styles. He has the second latest knockout and finish in a 3-round light heavyweight bout, which was his last bout against Modestas Bukauskas. He got a finish with 3 seconds to spare, 4 minutes and 57 seconds in round 3. He's an M1 and Fight Nights Global alum. He's had 2 stints in the UFC after 2 years away. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 2-2 since 2023. 16 of his 31 wins are via submission, 13 via knockout, so 29 of his 31 wins via finish. He does find a way. 6 of his 11 losses are via submission, and he does have a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. Now, personally, I watched his last fight live, although he did get the victory. Nikita seems like a different fighter after his knee injury. Before his knee injury, it was a totally different thing. He's technically still in his fighting prime, especially in the light heavyweight division. But again, he just seems like everything is hard. He's slow. He used to outwork his opponents and wear them out over the course of 15 minutes. But we really haven't seen him fight like that since he defeated Volkan Ozdemir back in 2022. You know, Robert isn't going to get worn out. He should be full of life moving up in weight classes. And as long as Robert doesn't get caught launching in to close distance, I think he's going to be much faster, more athletic, and more explosive, and will have his way in this fight. For that reason, I'm taking Bobby Knuckles. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. the main card opener. We get King Green, 39 years old with a 35-17-1 record, taking on Terrance T-Rex McKinney, 31 years old with an 18-8 record. Now, don't blink in this fight because Terrance is going to storm right at King and make him brawl, which Green is always game for. And it's interesting because on Embedded this week, King said he was actually hanging out with Terrance 3 days before he accepted the fight. And he told Terrance not to accept the fight, saying you don't fight your brothers. But he wanted to take the fight, and King feels like that's a slight to him. So he does want to go in and finish Terrance. So there is maybe some made-up bad blood here, I'm not sure. But the problem for Terrance is King fights with his hands down, and it seems like you could open up and come attack him. But that helps him because his opponents don't know where he's throwing and win, and he has very fast hands, although he's almost 40, and he lands with precision. I personally think King can catch him. Again, although he's almost 40, his hand speed is still there, and he has power. King has showcased that he can still wrestle if he needs to, because Terrance usually storms in and tries to cut off the cage immediately, so he could sell out on a takedown early and get a finish. So maybe King has to find a way to counterattack with grappling. But I doubt that Terrance is all of a sudden going to change his game plan. He's been talking about needing to be more patient and mature. We just haven't seen it, so I don't expect that. I think Terrance is going to try to showcase and put on a big fight display on this massive card. But breaking it down, King has an orthodox stance. He has a brown belt in BJJ. He's a King of the Cage alum and former champ. He's also a Strikeforce alum. He has the most significant strikes in UFC lightweight history with 2007. He's tied with Michael Johnson for third most bouts in lightweight history with 28. He has the most total strikes landed in a lightweight history, 2,255. He has the second highest significant strike differential in a UFC lightweight bout, plus 129 strikes against Jim Miller. He has the third highest significant strike differential in lightweight history, or in a lightweight bout, at plus 112 against Nasrat Haparist. He's on a 3-fight winning streak and is 4-2 since 2024. It's impressive this late in his career at lightweight. Most people after 35 are washed. He's 4-2 in 2 years. 12 of his 35 wins are via knockout, 10 via submission. So 22 of his 35 wins are via finish, and 6 of his 17 losses are via knockout. Now, Terrance trains out of Warrior Camp MMA in Spokanistan, Washington. He has a purple belt in BJJ. He has a D2 wrestling background out of Chadron State College. He's a Contender Series and LFA alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2024. 9 of his 18 wins are via knockout, 9 via submission, so all 18 of his wins via finish, and 5 of his 8 losses are via knockout. Now, Terrance especially is about as kill or be killed as a fighter as it gets in the UFC. You'd think at 31, he's going to be much more durable than King in this fight, who's fought a lot of wars, has been knocked out. But King showed a big and powerful Daniel Zellhuber how it's done. He kind of schooled the young kid. I think he has at least one more showcase in store for us, as long as he could weather the storm in the first round. But I think his movement, he's going to have to stay off the back of the cage because Terrance is going to push him. But I think he could land shots with Terrance coming in, gives him room to circle, unleash in the first round. If he gets taken down, he can get back up. He could take Terrance down. As long as it gets to round 2, I'm going with the veteran. For that reason, I'm taking another underdog. The dog's coming to eat. Ho, ho! Bobby Green's about plus 115 on average, but I am not putting this on a parlay. I mean, someone's going down quick, and it could be either one of them. Let's see. All right. I think this is the early leader for Fight of the Night. We get Brandon Raw Dog Royval. 33 years old with a 17-9 record and the number 4 next to his name, taking on Yoni Kavanagh. 27 years old with a 10-1 record and the number 6 next to his name. Again, I just think what we're about to see here is probably the leader for fight of the night. These are two insanely skilled strikers squaring off. The top of the flyweight division is as fun as it gets right now. I just can't wait to see, just trying to imagine how some of these exchanges can happen. I do think if it was a 5-round fight, it would favor Brandon. But in a 3-rounder, this is as close as it gets. You know, Brandon is a very savvy volume fighter. He's mostly fought to decisions of late. And Yoni has a lot of good striking technique, very good power, but he has mostly been fighting to decisions in the UFC as well. Breaking this one down, Brandon trains out of Factory X. He has a black belt in BJJ. 4 of his last 7 fights have been fight of the night or performance of the night. He's showing up, he's showing out. He has the most fight of the night bonuses in flyweight history with 5. He's tied with Alexandre Pantoja and Kai Kara France for most post-fight bonuses in flyweight history with 6. He's a World Series of Fighting and LFA alum, former LFA champion. He has the most significant strikes attempted in a flyweight bout, 510 against Brandon Moreno in their second fight. He has the most total strikes landed in a UFC flyweight bout with 281 against Moreno 2. The most total strikes attempted in a flyweight bout, 556 in that Moreno 2 fight. He has the second most total strikes attempted in a flyweight bout with 390 in his second fight with Pantoja. He has the most total head strikes landed in a flyweight bout, 248 in the second fight with Pantoja. He had the 2025 Fight of the Year against Joshua Van. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, 2-2 since 2024, and 9 of his 17 wins are via submission. Again, he's got the records and the accolades to speak for it. He pours it on. He's going to pour it on the young buck and see if he can survive. Now, Yoni has an orthodox stance. He has a black belt in kickboxing, a purple belt in BJJ. He's a Cage Warriors and Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 4-1 in the UFC. Now, my heart is torn on this one. I do believe Yoni is going to be a champion one day, but today at 27, can he beat Brandon, who is kind of in must-win territory after some tough losses, but has still looked world-class since 2023? I mean, he brought it to Joshua Van, damn near defeated him until he got sat on his butt at the end of the fight. If he can go and handle Joshua Van's boxing and power, is Yoni Kavanagh going to be able to do much better? That's the question. I don't think Brandon at 33 at flyweight is losing, kind of his abilities are slowing down. I think he's going to force Kavanagh to go for it, and it's going to be 15 minutes of just straight action. It's going to be a sprint to the finish, so make sure to tune into this one. I mean, if Kavanagh can get Brandon to fight backwards, land big power shots, and makes kind of Royval question his ability to come forward like he did in his last fight against Moreno, he will have a ton of success. I just don't have a feeling that that's going to happen. But after Kavanagh put that beating on Moreno, it does make you wonder. I understand why he's the favorite. I think Moreno is on a big decline, though, and I think Royval is actually kind of fighting at the best of his career. I think he's going to come in with a good game plan, good footwork to avoid Kavanagh in his spots, and he's going to take it to him. For that reason, I'm taking another underdog. The dog's coming to eat. Ho, ho. Brandon Royval is about a plus 180 dog on average. What a fight. What a fucking fight. Moving on, we get a rematch. We get Cory Sandhagen, 34 years old with an 18-6 record and the number 4 next to his name, taking on Mario Bautista, 33 years old with a 17-3 record and the number 7 next to his name. This is kind of a weird rematch where they're rematching from years ago, much like the main event. They first fought in 2019, which was Mario's UFC debut and Cory's third fight in the UFC. Cory submitted Mario via first-round armbar, I promise you, there's no way Cory gets a submission victory in this fight. You know, Cory is a very good, well-rounded fighter. He has very awkward movement, but he does have very creative striking, some of the best in the sport. And Mario's just a brute. He comes at you, he overwills and outworks you. But breaking this down, Mario trains out of the MMA lab here in Phoenix. He has a black belt in BJJ. He has the third longest win streak in bantamweight history with 8. He's tied with Kyung Ho Kong, Marlon Vera, and Aljamain Sterling for third most submissions in bantamweight history with 4. He's an RFA and LFA alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 4-1 since 2024. 7 of his 17 wins are via submission. Now, Cory trains out of the Forge Fight Club. He has a brown belt in BJJ. He has the second fastest flying knee finish in UFC history with 28 seconds against Frankie Edgar. That got him the 2021 Knockout of the Year. And then he had the 2019 Submission of the Year against Mario Bautista. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 1-2 since 2024. 8 of his 18 wins are via knockout. Now, Mario's really made a living being a pressure fighter and outworking his opponents, but Cory matches up well in fights like that. You know, Mario's last loss was against Umar Nurmagomedov, where he was actually the one being taken down over and over. He hasn't faced a striker the level of Cory, besides when he fought Jose Aldo, but he's a little bit older and slower. We know how that fight played out. And he fought a good striker in Vinicius Oliveira, but he gassed out. It was his last bantamweight fight. He clearly wasn't, the weight cut got to him really bad. I think Cory's going to be able to defend takedowns enough not to let Mario take him down and hold him down, but his only loss since 2021 have come against grapplers, Merab Dvalishvili and Umar Nurmagomedov. That is world-class talent. They took him down a ton in defeat, but again, I don't think Mario is quite at that elite level they are. Mario's up there, but those guys are the elites of the elites. If this fight does stay standing for most of the fight, I do think Cory finds a way. He's going to find a way to pick at him at distance, use his movement to keep hitting Mario when he tries to come in. The way Mario's going to win is if Mario can somehow push Cory back, get him on his back foot, and stays in like clinching or pinned up positions up against the cage like he did against Aldo. And I don't think Cory's going to be held in those situations. For that reason, I'm taking Cory Sandhagen. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. I mean, what a fucking card. The main card is bangers. King Green, Terrance McKinney. Banger. Brandon Royval, Yoni Kavanagh. Banger. Cory Sandhagen, Mario Bautista. Banger. And then we get this one. We get Benoit, God of War, Saint-Denis. 30 years old with a 17-3 record and the number 5 next to his name. He's taking on Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. 31 years old with a 23-4 record and the number 6 next to his name. I think this is just an evenly contested dogfight. I mean, Benoit, after the road bumps that he's faced against Poirier and Moicano, has absolutely dominated his opponents, and very good ones at that. Paddy is in his prime. He is 31. BSD is 2 at 30. But he still, I feel like Paddy is coming into his own after the Gaethje fight, which was really his only top-level ranked opponent that isn't like damn near 40. I think this is a bad matchup for Paddy because he isn't going to be able to bully the former Special Forces fighter who has good grappling of his own. I think he has better striking. It's crazy to think Benoit is actually younger than Paddy. That's how soft his UFC start has been. I mean, BSD has had a completely opposite experience fighting Killer's Row since he signed with the promotion. Breaking this down, Benoit has a brown belt in BJJ, a black belt in Judo. He's a former French Army Special Forces member. 5 of his last 8 fights have been fight of the night or performance of the night. He's showing up. He's showing out. He's a Brave alum. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, 4-2 since 2024. 11 of his 17 wins are via submission. 2 of his 3 losses are via knockout. Now, Paddy trains out of Next Generation MMA. He has a 2nd-degree black belt in BJJ. 6 of his last 8 fights have been performance of the night or fight of the night. He's showing up. He's showing out. He's a Cage Warriors alum and former champ with 1 successful title defense. He's the 2022 Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. He's on a 1-fight losing streak, only 2-1 since 2024. 10 of his 23 wins are via submission, 7 via knockout, so 17 of his 23 wins via finish. I can't wait for the walkout. I got to see that walkout in person, the Paddy Pimblett show in the Paramount card. The energy, the arena was insane. Right before the Conor McGregor walkout, Robert Whittaker has his walkout. I mean, make sure that you're in before the fight start watching these walkouts. The scene and the energy in that arena is going to be absolutely bonkers. But I think the most possible outcome of this fight is to a decision, as both men are pretty durable. I mean, Paddy obviously has good jiu-jitsu, so if it goes to the mat, anything is possible. I just don't think BSD tries to play that game on the canvas. If he takes him down, it's just mixing things up. I think BSD has a better shot of a knockout than Paddy does in this fight. Although Paddy did showcase amazing durability in his fight against Justin, I think that in 15 minutes, BSD is just going to be so aggressive that he's going to lead the pace of the fight, win on the scorecards. But this is going to be a wild fight. It's probably going to showcase every level of MMA everywhere in the octagon. And honestly, I am just interested to see how Paddy rebounds after his first loss and what his game plan will be. The key is, if it does go late into the second, into the third, we have seen BSD wear out because of how much volume he puts out early. So maybe the pendulum could swing to Paddy's favor there. But I'm taking BSD. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. The time has come. The return of Conor McGregor. 5 years in the making. We get Conor Mystic Mac McGregor. 37 years old with a 22-6 record, taking on Max Blessed Holloway. I call him Super Saiyan Gohan or Goku as well. He's a DBZ fan. He's Super Saiyan Goku. 34 years old with a 27-9 record. The best is blessed, baby. But for me, this fight is all about Conor. He gets the advantage of this fight being at welterweight, which is honestly a big deal because that is very big for Max. I mean, Max recently went from 145 to 155. Now they're fighting 20 pounds more at 175. I think Conor is going to look huge in the octagon. He had the use of steroids because of his leg. It was hard for him to give it up. He was getting bulked and getting swole. And he's really gotten big over the past few years. I think this could even be a tough weight cut for him. I think that could impact his overall performance, and I'm really interested to see how that plays out. But I think with all the anticipation of him returning over the course of a bajillion years, I don't think he'll let that happen. He'll probably have a nutritionist and team to be there and help him get it handled. The thing is, nobody really knows how much he's been training, how much he's been working on his craft, how determined he is. In this 5 years, we've seen a roller coaster ride of Conor McGregor. Domestic abuse, cheating on his wife, fighting people in the bar, cocaine paradise in Monaco and Miami. I mean, it's been quite the drama. This could be a reality TV show. But he did go on the Ariel Helwani show. Seems like he's kind of in a changed man mentally. It seems like he's ready for war again. But who knows how valid that is or if he's acting a part. We aren't going to know until Saturday night. But Max, he is an amazing fighter. He is still fighting at the highest level. He's still in his prime. And he's going to make Conor work for it, man. A 5-round fight. Conor is going to have to find a way, in my opinion, to catch Max with a big shot early and kind of mentally plan out what the movement is and what the strike is like he did in the insane blockbuster knockout of a prime Jose Aldo. The only one that's been able to sit Max down, though, has been Ilia Topuria. But let's break it down. There is a long, long list of accolades. This is going to... every Max Holloway fight, it's like, holy shit, there's 2 pages of things. And Conor's well written for as well. But Conor has a southpaw stance. He trains out of SBG Ireland with a black belt in BJJ. He was a featherweight champ and interim champ. Also a lightweight champ. He was awarded the greatest knockout in the UFC's first 25 years in that knockout against Jose Aldo. He has the most consecutive post-fight bonuses in UFC history with performance of the night bonuses with 5. The most post-fight bonuses in UFC history consecutively with 8. He's the first Irish-born UFC champion. He was the 3rd multi-divisional champion in UFC history, holding the lightweight and featherweight straps. The moment of him putting the straps, he said, "Woo-wee, look at how good this looks." Pretty awesome moment. He has the fastest win and finish in UFC championship fight at 13 seconds against Jose Aldo. He has the most knockdowns per 15 minutes in featherweight history at 2.31. He's tied with Chad Mendes and Doo Ho Choi for 3rd most knockouts in UFC featherweight history with 6. He's one of 2 fighters, him and Jared Cannonier, to have knockout victories in 3 different weight classes. He was the 2015-16 Fighter of the Year, 2020 Comeback Fighter of the Year, 2013 Newcomer of the Year. He's a Cage Warriors alum and former champ with 2 separate belts in that promotion as well, featherweight and lightweight. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, 1-3 since 2018. 19 of his 22 wins are via knockout. 4 of his 6 losses are via submission. And he does have a 5-inch reach advantage. Now on to Max. Max has a black belt in BJJ. He's the former featherweight champ with 3 successful title defenses. He was also an interim champ. He has the most finishes and most knockouts in featherweight title fights with 4. The 3rd most title fight wins in featherweight history with 5. First American to win the featherweight championship. UFC BMF title with 1 successful title defense. The first fighter to win a UFC interim undisputed BMF title. Gaethje has now done that. He has the 2nd most post-fight bonuses in featherweight history with 10, only behind Cub Swanson. He has the longest win streak in featherweight history with 13, the most wins in featherweight history with 20, the 2nd most wins in UFC and WEC featherweight history with 20, behind Cub Swanson. He has the most knockouts in featherweight history with 9, most finishes in featherweight history with 11. He's tied with Jose Aldo for most finishes in UFC WEC featherweight history with 11. He's tied with Andre Fili for 2nd most bouts in featherweight history with 27. That's behind Darren Elkins. He has the most total fight time in featherweight history, 6 hours, 58 minutes, 57 seconds. He's tied with Andre Fili, Alexander Volkanovski, and Movsar Evloev for 2nd most decision wins in featherweight history with 9, behind Cub Swanson. The most consecutive bouts without being knocked down in UFC history at 29. He's tied with Demetrius Johnson and Yair Rodriguez for latest finish in UFC history, 1 second to spare, 4 minutes, 59 seconds in round 5 against Justin Gaethje. Latest finish in a lightweight history, same thing against Gaethje. He's tied with Yair Rodriguez for latest knockout in UFC history across all weight classes, which is 1 second to spare. Yair got that spinning elbow against the Korean Zombie. He holds wins over 7 former champs: Charles Oliveira, Anthony Pettis, Jose Aldo 2 times, Edgar, Justin Gaethje, Yair Rodriguez, and Dustin Poirier. He is the 2017 Fighter of the Year, 2024 Knockout of the Year against Justin Gaethje. He has an all of the UFC Most significant strikes landed, 3,681. Most landed in title fights, 1,414. Most total strikes landed, 3,980. Most significant strikes absorbed, 2,457. Most bouts with 100 or more significant strikes, 17. With 200 or more significant strikes, 3. The most significant strikes landed in a fight, 335 against Calvin Kattar. He has the second most significant strikes landed in all of UFC and the most in featherweight, 290 against Brian Ortega. He has the most significant strikes attempted in a fight, 744 against Calvin Kattar. He has the highest striking differential in a fight and in featherweight history at plus 312 against Calvin Kattar. He has the highest striking differential in a fight in featherweight at second highest at plus 180 against Ortega. So he has the highest striking differential, second in all of UFC in featherweight. He has the second most total strikes landed in a fight in UFC history, 447 against Calvin Kattar. He has the most distance strikes landed in a UFC fight in featherweight, 439 against Calvin Kattar. He has the second most distance strikes landed in a fight in featherweight, 281 against Ortega. He has the most significant head strikes landed in a UFC fight, 274 against Kattar. The second most landed in a UFC fight, 244 against Ortega. He has the most significant body strikes landed in a UFC fight and in featherweight, 117 against Kattar. The most total strikes attempted in a UFC fight and featherweight, 746 against Kattar. The most significant strikes landed in a round in UFC history and featherweight, 141 in round 4 against Kattar. That fight was insane. The second most significant strikes landed in a round and in featherweight, 134 in round 4 versus Ortega. The second most significant strikes attempted in a round, most at featherweight, 204 in round 3 against Aldo. I mean, he's basically 1, 2, 3 in all of UFC in featherweight. Second most total strikes attempted in a round and most in featherweight, 212 in round 3 against Aldo in their second. He has the most significant strikes landed in featherweight history, 2,971. Most total strikes landed in featherweight history, 3,180. Most significant strikes landed in featherweight history, 744 against Kattar. Most significant head strikes landed in featherweight history, 274 against Kattar. Second most head strikes landed in a featherweight fight, 254 against Ortega. He has the third most significant body strikes landed in a featherweight bout, 66 against Yair Rodriguez. Second most total strikes attempted in a featherweight fight, 507 versus Ortega. Third most total strikes attempted in a featherweight fight, 434 against Yair. Most total body strikes landed in a featherweight fight, 119 against Kattar. Third most body strikes landed in a featherweight round, 108 versus Aldo. Second most significant strikes attempted in a featherweight round, 196 in round 4 against Ortega. He also has the third most significant strikes attempted in a featherweight round, 191 in round 4 against Kattar. Second most total strikes attempted in a featherweight round, 203 in round 4 against Ortega. The third most, 191 in round 4 against Kattar. Most significant strikes attempted in a lightweight bout. Now he's got lightweight records already. 446 against DP in their second fight. Most significant body strikes landed in a fight in lightweight history. 64 against Dustin Poirier in their third fight. Second most body strikes landed in a lightweight fight. 62 against Gaethje. Most total strikes attempted in a lightweight fight. 473 against Poirier in their second fight. Most leg kicks landed in a lightweight fight, 57 against Gaethje. Third most significant strikes landed in a lightweight fight, 198 in the third Poirier fight. I mean, come on. Obviously, he's fought most of his career at featherweight. He's got all the records. He's got UFC records and even some lightweight already. He's on a 1-fight losing streak, 2-2 since 2024. 12 of his 27 wins are via knockout. Now, Conor is the most hyped UFC fighter, and he was a killer. when he called his shot against Aldo in 2015. I actually wish that fight would have played out more. But then he lost to an okay welterweight. At the time, Nick Diaz was like a 10th ranked welterweight fighter. Obviously Nick wasn't easy to finish. He had cardio for days. But he did get a couple of wins. He lost to Khabib. That fight got him fame. Then he really boosted up in the boxing bout against Floyd Mayweather. But after that and getting the bread, he wasn't the same. Dustin Poirier finished him early 2 times. And he has not fought in 5 years since he broke his leg, which was a nasty leg break. Max is super underrated though. As you look at that resume I talked about, he has done in the octagon 100 times more than what Conor has when it comes to fighting resume alone. And now he gets a chance to cap it off with the win against Conor McGregor. If Conor can find the kill shot early like he did against Aldo, he will be at a whole nother level, and we will probably see him in the octagon again. But I'm telling you right now, that's not going to happen. Max is going to frustrate him with his movement and skills to get it done. He's too fast, he's too powerful, he's too quality of a striker, and we don't know what version of Conor we're getting today. Honestly, if Conor was smart, he would look to take Max down and kind of make slight work of the situation. Much like John Jones did after his layoff when he wrestled Cyril Gane and got an easy finish. And obviously Charles Oliveira did that to Max recently as well. I just don't think Conor McGregor's game's at Charles Oliveira's level because Max, to give him credit, fought 25 minutes off his back and didn't let Charles get into super serious situations. And Charles is a lot better submission artist than Conor McGregor. But hey, just remember, Max Holloway is that guy. He's got that resume. He's done anything and everything. This is a chance for one of these guys to boost their stock to the moon. But a Conor McGregor loss, I think, will be his last. I can't fucking wait. Absolutely stacked International Fight Week card, top to bottom. I'm going to be locked in. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, but whatever I'm doing it, your boy is locking in. And enjoy it. Next weekend, we get a location-based fight night in Oklahoma City. I'm sure the crowd will be great. It will be a vibe. There's some fun fights on this fight night card. It's headlined by the return of 9th-ranked Kamaru Usman and former champion, 2nd-ranked DDP. It's an awesome card. I can't wait for this weekend. MMA is on the rise this summer. I'm fucking hyped. The USA soccer team let us down, but this weekend, it's all about UFC. That's episode 154. I'm your host, Shane Gillette. See you next week.